Hello, beautiful humans. This is Alicia from Ethical Wellness Programs, and you are listening to the Heal in Motherhood podcast, the show that combines the science of the mind-body connection and trauma research, along with spiritual teachings and practical tools to help women heal their lives from the inside out and reclaim their inner goddess, while showing up as the person, parent, and partner they came here to be. If you like what you hear on today's show, please don't forget to leave us a review on the iTunes podcast app so that we can grow our community and impact as many women's lives as possible. Hello and welcome everybody. I am excited to bring this episode to you today. As always, I'm always excited to come on the podcast and have a little yarn, especially when I bring other people on, because it's more fun than me just chatting. We've got Jen on the podcast today, and she's a busy mom of 2 children and 2 toddlers, and she's a holistic exercise and nutrition coach for mums. And she helps women prioritize themselves in one of the most tiring yet beautiful stages of their life, so that they can be their absolute best to raise our future generations. And her background has always been in health and fitness and working with busy mums in the corporate world. But more recently, she's fallen in love with helping mums like herself who have found it hard to prioritize themselves in the crazy mist of motherhood. And Jen very much helps women from conception, pregnancy, postpartum, and beyond with exercise and nutrition. And it's also well documented that in the first 1,000 days of a baby's life, that's when the support is most needed, and it's been linked to positive health outcomes for the rest of the child's life. And this is also why Jen has created her online program, which is called Baby's Introduction to Solids and the First 1,000 Days. So welcome, Jen. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. Very exciting to be here.
Yeah, cool. Is there anything you want to add to that? Do you want to tell me a little bit more about yourself and what inspired you to kind of create this awesome program for beautiful women?
Yeah, I guess like most mums, things change. Once you have kids, your perspective. I've always had a keen interest in health and well-being. I guess pre-baby, quite a lot about being lean and toned and all these things pre-baby. But then once you have the kids, obviously that's still something that I work towards and would like to achieve. But there's, a lot more purpose behind my goals. And I know when I work with my clients, it's the same for them. We want to be mentally strong, physically strong, be able to handle, the tired times as well as the good energy times. And just for me, it's about being positive for my kids and being able to teach them positive things from here. And obviously exercise and nutrition helps me facilitate that for them as well. So that's what I love and what I've studied, and that's what I aim to help other women with as well.
Yeah, awesome. I love that. That's beautiful. And in your introduction, you did mention that in the past that you found it maybe a bit difficult to prioritize yourself, even though coming from this health and nutrition background and knowing all the things of what to do, that we still find it difficult to do those things, right?
Yeah. I think that was a bit of a shock for me for sure. Like with my first son, I feel like I was able to get back to me. Like I think some people have that transition or that sort of change with their first, but I felt like I was able to get back. I was doing a corporate job as well as running my, at the time, PT business part-time, and I had him. I don't really know how I did that, but I did. But then when the second bub came along, I could barely get out of the house, and go for a walk, come back, and that's it. And really pulling myself out of that to be able, and we were in lockdown and all those things, to do some exercise, which, I used to train 4 or 5 times a week. Like that was just who I was. It was part of my identity. And then not having that, it just really rocked me. And yeah, I'm nearly 2 years postpartum with my second. So I'm definitely coming out of that phase. She's sleeping through, which is a game changer for our mental health, our clarity and our motherhood experience, right? So I can definitely feel shifts. The kids are in care 3 days a week. I have a bit more balance, and I just think you learn along the way how to prioritize yourself and what works for you, because it's different for everyone, right? And it's not just about the exercise, not just about eating well. It's just so much more than that, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And I totally resonate with your story there, what you're saying about having the first child. I was used to say about then having the second child, I was like, oh, that's when my real motherhood journey began. And not to discredit, people with one child,
Yeah.
I can also see the challenges in that as well.
Yeah.
But my first child was very easy as well. So she was really easy. She slept and, she come along to all the things. And I was still teaching yoga at the time. So I was out in the evenings and teaching yoga, and my body bounced back a little bit easier, and just the whole routine of life. I still really yearned for that old me and the going back to my old self and being who I want to be.
Yeah.
And then I had my second, and I was like, right, now I'm in it. This is like, I am being a mum now.
Yeah, which is beautiful and hard at the same time. Yeah.
It's kind of like, really, for me, it was a bigger transition of like, all right, this is, fully embracing the motherhood role instead of kind of doing that whole yearning for the old life. It was like a complete transition into a whole new life.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Awesome. So did you want to talk to us a little bit more about your program and what you've created and why it's come around?
Yeah, for sure. At the end of my pregnancy with my second child, I thought it would be a good idea. Oh, yeah, I'll go on mat leave and I'll study. Yeah, that will be. And obviously that was a lot. That was in my head about what was going to happen, but we had lockdowns and that became quite a challenge. But anyway, I knew that I wanted to work in this space with mums. And I was one of those mums that wasn't really into kids before I fell pregnant. And then I fell pregnant and fell in love with everything: pregnancy, birth, postpartum, and motherhood. And I guess I studied, so I'm also a nutrition consultant for pregnancy, postpartum, and babies, and learning about the baby's journey of the first 1,000 days. So from conception all the way to 2 years, and not only through studying but also through having my own kids and how that can impact them in such a positive way was just, I was drawn to, and that's, I guess, my calling, if you want to call it that. So it is a space, especially that baby nutrition space, that is super confusing, as is any choice that you make in my sister who just had a baby, and 3 months, firstborn, and she's like, oh, I'm thinking of going to Nagala. And there's, for everything, like, co-sleeping is the best way to do it. One person will tell you that, sleep training is the best way to do it. But yeah, I guess I wanted to bring something that helps new mums and second-time mums and multiple mums to have something to follow, because it can be hard when you're not sleeping and there's all this information, cross-information about what to do, what to not do. And I wanted to make it in a simple format. I wanted mums to come together to connect with other mums and give them the most up-to-date and evidence-based information over the course of a short 6-week period. Yeah. So I guess within that, relating back to the first 1,000 days, introduction to solid is super important. Babies are still developing their digestive system, their immune system, their nervous system. That's all still developing. We have such an opportunity to impact that positively. And as you mentioned, that will help impact their health positively for the rest of their life. Yeah, which is super cool, right? Super cool. So yeah, I guess a little bit more on the course is for all the way from understanding the signs of developmental readiness through what foods do we serve baby-led pureed foods, understanding food sensitivities versus allergies versus intolerances, and how to manage that, as well as understanding how the nervous system, digestive system, and immune system play a big part in that, and how can we support these babies, especially through that 6 to 12 month window where we have a window of opportunity to help them develop and grow. Yeah, it's just all the things that I love to talk about.
Yeah, that's it. Awesome. And all the things that are super important that we don't really understand and talk about, because, you know, when you're maybe following a mummy blogger on Instagram, or, you know, an influencer, or you're following someone maybe for tips on what recipes to give your child or whatever it is, it's great to have that. And like you said, keeping it simple and easy and having a format. But also, I really think what's important is understanding the why, and why we're doing it this way, and why it is important. And like you said, having that evidence there to support what you're actually offering as well. But I feel like understanding our nervous system and our immune system and our gut health is not just beneficial for the children, it's also probably going to be beneficial for the mothers as well.
Yeah.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but even what we eat in pregnancy can help or hinder how the baby's microbiome is affected, even when they're inside the womb with us, right? So that's why as well, you know, the importance of when mothers are breastfeeding and what they're eating, and we're so interconnected that having this information, I feel, will really help mums make clear decisions and have that discernment, because like you said, there's so much information out there. It can feel overwhelming, and then you end up doing none of it because you just feel too overwhelmed because you're too tired and exhausted and you're just trying to survive.
And none of them really work because you haven't really had an opportunity to be consistent and really see the results from it as well. Yes, everything that I talk about in the nutrition for babies is exactly applies for us, and it's a great opportunity. That's, again, one of the things that I love about baby nutrition. It's an opportunity as a family to reset, you know, shared family meals. If we weren't doing that, that's an opportunity to reset and connect. Something that we talk about around week 5 is around lowering toxicity, and that's something that helps our nervous system. And again, that applies to us, and some mums may have already experienced that, like you said, through the fertility journey, through their pregnancy journey. Again, it's a beautiful opportunity to reset and, I guess, make decisions with information and empowered decisions on how you want to support and look after your baby. But I guess if we talk about baby's nervous system specifically, we could talk about lowering toxicity, and the concept, again, for us as well as baby, is the bucket concept or the bucket theory. And if, again, we can relate that to things like, we know food sensitivities and allergies, they're on the rise. But why are they on the rise? You know, eczema and triggers are cumulative and can involve more than just food. You know, food is obviously a big part, but if the body is well supported, then it may be able to handle triggers better or less likely to have extreme reactions. Additional stresses in the baby's life, besides whatever it is they're eating that's causing them an issue, each individual may have like a different threshold. One baby would have a different threshold. I'd have a different threshold. What fills up a bucket for a baby or for a person, even an adult, is things like not getting enough sleep. So I know sleep's a big controversial topic for mums. whether you sleep with the baby or whether you have the training or what have you. But not getting enough sleep, I think we can all agree, that impacts us from our health. Yeah. Being stressed, sleep and stress, I guess, act as the same thing in our nervous system. So whether we're not getting enough sleep or whether we're highly stressed, we need to still work on ways on reducing that nervous system. Inflammatory foods, obviously. So for an adult, alcohol, seed oils, sometimes people for dairy can be inflammatory in their gut. Sugar, obviously, we know. Exposure to toxins, whether that's environmental, whether that's in the household. Antibiotics, if we're not exposed to nature, that also fills up our stress bucket. Not being exposed to fresh air, that also adds to our load as well. Not moving our body enough. On the opposite, for say a mum, if we're exercising too much, that can add too much stress and cortisol to our bodies as well. I know for one, not having enough fun or enjoyment, especially through that lockdown period. I'd had my second and I was just all about the babies, and I just completely forgot about doing anything for me.
Yeah,
I really to work on pulling myself out of that at one point. And for adults, again, over caffeinating, alcohol, cigarettes, drugs, we know, like that sort of things that can overload our system. Yeah.
And I think what you said there that really stood out to me was the remembering to sort of do something fun or joyful or playful. And you can do that with the kids as well, but remembering to, actually enjoy and sit and, delight in them playing, or start a gratitude list or do something that can slow your life down. I feel like one of the biggest stresses for mums, other than sleep, is this multitasking.
For sure.
And it's such a lie. No one is meant to be multitasking, and that really overwhelms our nervous system, right? And we're trying to do too many things at once. And I've stopped doing it now, but I used to listen to like a podcast when I'd be cleaning, or, I'd try and listen to something quite educational when I'm doing the washing or the cleaning or whatever. And I found that was making me really stressed out because I was trying to listen to this. I was trying to do the cleaning, and then the kids are coming in and throwing all the clothes that you've just folded up all over the bed. And it was like, I'm trying to,
funny. I totally agree with you. I hate multitasking. I do it, but I like to do one thing at a time.
I think if you can,
I would love to.
Yeah. And I think as well, that kind of goes back to, learning from our kids, right? Because they do things at a much slower pace than we do.
Yeah.
And, this is an opportunity for us to actually slow down and meet them where they're at. And like you say, with the meals, it's an opportunity for us to reset and re-examine, like, what are we doing here? What's working? What's not working? And what works as a family, not just for me.
Yeah.
For you, going to a million appointments and going to every yoga class and every Pilates session might have worked for you pre-kids, but is that working for you now post-kids?
Yeah, probably not. Yeah.
It's like that whole identity shift.
For sure. And I just think even just taking it really back to basics is like, playing in the garden and getting your fingernails dirty just like the kids are getting there. And, it doesn't just have to be about food or exercise, it's just creating 10, 15 minutes of simpleness, definitely simpleness that grounds us. Like that's doing, like nervous system, energy, all that sort of stuff is just so, allows us to take a breath, right?
Yeah. So within your program, what is in there? Do you create recipes? Have you got recipes in there? Have you got workout programs in there? What's kind of on the inside?
Well, this specific program, Baby Introduction to Solids, focus, I guess, for mums who have babies from 4 months all the way to 12 months. helping them to understand when is the right time for their baby to start solids. Again, that's probably one of the first confusing things that I see out there from a maternal health, from doctors, paediatricians, all giving different advice. I work with mums and provide them the evidence behind starting around about the 6-month mark, but once baby is meeting all 4 signs of developmental readiness.
Right.
So they're able to sit up, have enough core strength, they're interested, they're engaged, they've lost the tongue thrust reflex, the tongue. So from there, they're not spitting the food out, and they may or may not be starting to develop the pincer grip. But there's things that are going to tell you that the baby is ready. We want to give them enough time to develop something like their core strength, so they have enough time and they're ready to be able to handle food from a microbiome perspective. They're able to assimilate foods. And I know for me, I haven't done that perfectly with my kids, especially with my first. I was super keen, interested in nutrition, he was showing signs that he was ready. They gave him food, and then obviously he got constipated in that first couple of weeks.
So would that be one of the signs that baby's not ready if they're experiencing constipation?
Yes, that could be. I do encourage mums as much as possible, and especially if baby is showing signs that they're eager, to just wait till that's kind of 6-month mark. I think you can do things like give them a carrot to hold and play with, and have them in the high chair with the family to include them, or celery, or some mumsicles are great ideas to freeze some milk and have for them to play with and experience as well. So you're just giving that time, a little bit more time. Constipation is a topic that we talk about, a full topic for. It's one of my favourite modules as well, is how to identify constipation, and then how to treat it from a natural way, because we want to understand constipation, what is the root cause as well.
Yeah.
So being able to help support mums with that. So it's a 6 weeks course. Like I mentioned, there's lowering toxicity in the nervous system. We talk about sensitivities, allergies, ways to introduce them and what that looks like. And then at the end, we do have a recap and food demonstration as well. I do provide recipes, but I guess that's not the essence of the whole program. What I'm looking to do, and hopefully it does land with all the mums out there, is to help mums feel confident, have some fun in the kitchen with their kids, and yes, reconnect and create these beautiful lifestyles around connecting with the family, or creating that time out in nature for them, the babies, for everyone. Yeah.
Awesome. I love that. It's super important, I think. And like you said, it's more than just the recipes, right? You can get those on the internet, wherever. It's a lot deeper than talking about that. It's really understanding the why, and then giving the mums the tools. What you said before is that empowerment, because like you mentioned before, there is so much information out there. And I think if you can just have those pillars and those facts, then you can tailor it to whatever you think and feel. You can make better decisions based on the information that you've received, right?
Yeah, and I think, for me, I'm someone who's studied this and engrossed in it, and I still do 100%, right? There's no such thing as perfectionism in motherhood or in
in life.
That's really one thing that I've learned as a mum. But so it's like, that's okay. As part of the program, you're in a community with other mums. There's a WhatsApp group, can ask questions, post pictures. It's beautiful. It's really lovely. Yeah.
Awesome. I love it. Well, we're going to wrap up. Thank you for coming on today and having a chat about your program, because I feel like it's really important to support mums in every way that we possibly can to help this journey become as easeful and as joyful as possible, because like you said, we can get stuck in that mess and just trying to get through the day. So these programs are super important. My last question is, what has been one of the greatest lessons that you've learned, either from motherhood or your children?
Yes. 2 things. And yeah, I guess for myself is, yes, to continue to invest time into myself, because I come out the other end as a better, stronger person for myself, but obviously for my kids. That is another why that drives me, and that drives everything I do with trying to help mums as well. But yeah, I guess the other thing has been, around there's no such thing as perfectionism in raising kids, in terms of having the house, doing things. It's, for me at this stage, it's all one big mess. But as I continue to make more time for myself, it gets, I don't know if the word's easier, but I feel more fulfillment from it, and I feel I'm making progress. That's what it is. Progress over perfection, for sure.
I love that. Always. Yeah. Progress over perfection. That's a great message. I love that, because it's so important. And if there's any mums out there that are feeling the strain, just take a moment to see, where am I trying to be perfect? Where am I putting such a high expectation on myself that is unrealistic, or on my kids that's unrealistic? Because I didn't think I was a perfectionist until I became a mum. And then once I learned about perfectionism, I was like, if you'd have said, oh, you're a perfectionist, I'd be like, no. And then once I started to learn about it, and then I started to notice it in my own life, I was like, holy hell, I am so deep in perfectionism. It's uncanny. I'm like, oh my God.
I used to be that person that did all the food prep and had the food ready for the week. And I would love to be able to do that again, but it's not that. It's here, there. I've got some food in the fridge. Sometimes I don't, and that's how it is. I love it. I do it, and I do the best I can, but that's the best I can do some weeks. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Good enough parenting we're advocating for on this show. We're not about being perfect. Well, I think that's a great, beautiful way to finish up today. So thank you for coming on here and speaking with me today.
Yeah, and you're doing beautiful things for mums as well. So thank you so much for having me. And love to chat to you again soon.
All right, awesome. So just letting everybody know, I do have it might be out already by the time we're listening to this. So I do have my book coming out, which is How to Stop Losing It with Your Kids. If you're feeling the strain and you feel like you're constantly reacting instead of responding to your child's behaviors, and you'd like to be more peaceful in your parenting, then click the link in the show notes and grab the ebook. And we'll also have all of Jen's information in the show notes as well. So see you all next week. Namaste.